Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 883, and today we at 2, the Very OddGamer episode number 28, Crazy Taxi with Silver Gates as a special guest. And Marshall, if you watch this episode right now, it's for you, buddy. And we had this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Anyway. Very OddGamer and Crazy Taxi. Pauses right there. Anyway. Crazy Taxi. Title card designed by Keyblade Mistress. I gotta turn this up so I can hear this. Where's my remote? Hang on. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. It's probably my Apple, oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Now I'm on. Continue on. Special guest reviewer, Silver Kid. Okay, if you watch this, watch this review, buddy. Continue on.
Hello, internet viewers. I'm the Fairly OddGamer. Well, since I talked about Smashing Drive in the last review, I thought I'd talk about another arcade game that's not only amazing, but also involves a taxi. If you haven't guessed yet, it's the granddaddy of all taxi games, Crazy Taxi.
Okay.
Crazy Taxi is an arcade game released by Sega in 1999. The
Okay.
game was developed by Kenji Kano and his team at Hitmaker, which also worked on games such as Sega Rally and Virtua Tennis.
Wow.
It was later ported to multiple consoles such as the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and PC.
Okay.
Not only that, but it would also be re-released for mobile phones and other consoles for the current generation.
Wow.
Even though I played the original arcade game once, it was an amazing experience regardless.
And for this review, I'll be looking at
Hold on, just one moment.
Phones and other consoles for the current generation.
And Marshall, if you watch this, buddy, it's for you, buddy. Continue on.
Even though I played the original arcade game once, it was an amazing experience regardless.
Okay.
And for this review, I'll be looking at one of the console ports of the game. That's why I'll be reviewing Crazy Taxi for the Nintendo GameCube.
Hey there, gamer.
And who are you?
My name's Silver Kid, and I couldn't help but notice that you're taking a look at one of my favorite Sega games.
Yes, why?
I'd like to review it as well.
I see. So, what do you know about Crazy Taxi?
Well, I happen to have the game for Xbox Live Arcade via the Dreamcast collection.
Anything else?
Well, Crazy Taxi is an arcade racing game that was a part of the Sega Naomi arcade line.
Okay.
This was also how Super Monkey Ball got its start, which is another Sega franchise I'm a fan of.
Yep.
Now, originally I had the Dreamcast collection for Xbox 360 mainly to play Sonic Adventure. But
Okay.
one day I thought to myself, why not? And decided to try out another game in the collection. And that game was Crazy Taxi.
Makes sense.
Now, at first, I had a good amount of fun with the game, and I thought it had a really fun and interesting concept, but didn't really play it again.
Makes sense.
That is, until very recently, I decided to play Crazy Taxi again, and I had a blast.
Okay.
Since then, I've been playing it non-stop. So based on that, I would really love to join.
Alright, fair enough. Is the console version as good as the arcade version? Let's find out.
After seeing the Sega logo, I really missed the chance.
Sega!
Not that one.
Yeah. Sega. Guess. Watch this remix for you, buddy.
Either. Sega! There we go. We see that the version was made, or at least ported, by Acclaim. And
Okay.
finally we get to hear that famous intro voice from the arcade game.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi!
If you watch this, Marshall, it's for you, buddy. Only using the cover of these songs due to copyright reasons. Continue on. Wow.
I love this opening cutscene. Imagine going to an arcade and you hear that song playing with fast-moving graphics on the screen. I immediately put my quarters in and start playing non-stop.
Exactly.
Now, this opening cutscene is really cool. It's just filled with that chaotic energy that I love about this game. And it just lets you know that this isn't going to be your average racing game.
Anyway, you have 3 different game modes. Arcade, Original, and Crazy Box. So let's play by the arcade rules, because hey, it's an arcade game.
Before you start a game, you pick your choice of one out of the 4 playable characters. Axel, BD Joe, Gina, and Gus. Now most of the time when I play Crazy Taxi, I always pick BD Joe, because I think he has a really cool design, he has the most personality out of the 4, and I just have a lot of memories playing against him in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. However, eventually I found out that the different characters in Crazy Taxi actually handle differently, which I probably should have known considering it's a racing game. And according to a website on this game, if this BD Joe is the only cab you ever use, then you're making things much harder than they need to be. And after really struggling on some of the missions in Crazy Box, I can totally see that. With BD Joe, his speed is really good, and when it comes to his acceleration and deceleration, it's okay, but not the best. Also, he apparently has the best drift in the game, as stated by the website. But I was never able to really pull off very good drifts in the game, so I didn't notice it. Now, something I did notice is that turning and steering is pretty difficult, and it can definitely be a bit annoying to deal with sometimes. Personally, though, it's not a big enough problem to ruin playing as him, since the core gameplay is so good.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Even though BD Joe is the fastest out of the 4, I think his handling is the worst. Not to mention, you would more than likely use the Crazy Drift unintentionally. Personally, I recommend him for a few Crazy Box challenges, but we'll get to that later. Let's talk about the other drivers. Axel's cab has decent acceleration as well as decent handling, but his cab is the lightest out of the 4, meaning if you get hit by a car, you'll more than likely U-turn or even scatter off course. He's a good choice for starters, but I personally wouldn't recommend him as your main driver. Gus's cab, on the other hand, is the heaviest out of the 4. Even though it gives him the best handling, the heaviness of Gus gives him the slowest acceleration and deceleration.
Yes.
But personally, I enjoy playing as Gus. That leaves Gina, who I think is the best character in the game. She has the best acceleration as well as deceleration, best brakes, and best handling. If you want to go for the highest scores, then I would definitely recommend playing as Gina. So after choosing your cabbie, the game can begin.
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
So Silver, what do you think of the graphics in this game?
Well, just like what I think of the graphics for another Dreamcast game, that game being Sonic Adventure, I think the textures and the models and the environments looked amazing at the time. And to this day, I think they look pretty decent and haven't aged too
Wait. Go back some.
And to this day, I think they look
Is that old KFC restaurant? Continue on.
decent and haven't aged too badly. Now, when it comes to the character models in Crazy Taxi, I definitely wouldn't call them awful, but let's just say they don't exactly hold up too well. They just look kinda off, but I still think these character models have an iconic look to them, as goofy character models like these are one of the many things that represent this era in gaming where 3D was just starting to hit its stride.
I actually like the Southern California vibe in the game. There are some details that feel somewhat similar to San Francisco, primarily the steep downward hills. Rolling around at the speed of cow. Got places to go, gotta follow my taxi.
As someone who lives in California, playing through these familiar locations was definitely cool to see.
Dude, did someone say they're from California?
Oh hey, that was me.
That's awesome, dude!
Hey gamer, who's that dog over there?
Oh, right. Hux, I'd like you to meet Silver. He's helping me out in my Crazy Taxi review.
Nice! You know, Silver, I actually used to live in California before moving here.
Wow. Hang on. Let me check Lucas's name before we actually begin. And let's see, hold on. Check. If you watch this, Lucas, being a gamer, this may be for you, buddy. Anyway, hold on. Born in hometown is. Wait a minute. my dad's, especially my home state? Really? I did not realize that. Continue on.
Not only did I surf there, but I also used to sell surfboards at a local surf shop.
Really? That sounds cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to see what's up. Later, dudes!
He seems like a pretty radical dude.
I know, right?
Anyway, you might notice that some of the destinations are actually real destinations, such as Kentucky Fried Chicken, Levi's, Tower Records, and even Pizza Hut of all places.
Huh, that's weird. Whenever I play this game, I instead run into some place called Fried Chicken Shack.
Well, when the game was reissued for later consoles, the names were changed due to copyright issues. So that explains why they use generic names instead of using the actual names.
And now that I think about it, could you imagine if this game was made nowadays? My guess is that it would look like this.
Hey, come on over and have some fun with Crazy Uber.
And if you watch this, Marshall, this will be fun. And by the way, I would love to use a Crazy Uber. Continue on.
That actually doesn't sound like a bad idea. I just really want a new Crazy Taxi game. Imagine all the cool things they could do with a new one, like an online competitive multiplayer mode.
Oh, the possibility.
I mean, hey, at least we have Crazy Taxi and Fortnite.
And I agree with you on the character models. While they looked amazing at the time, the models haven't aged very well. They still have a low-res quality, and sometimes the animations can be a bit rigid. But that's what games looked like back then. With that out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. You can customers with different colored dollar signs above them, pick them up, and drive them to their destinations all while under a time limit.
By the way, what did these dollar signs mean? I never got what they were.
Glad you asked, Silver. Initially, I thought the dollar signs would difficulties like green being easy and red being hard. However, it turns out that the dollar signs determine the distance based on each passenger's destinations, with red being the shortest and green being the longest.
Ah, okay. Anyways, when you play a game, you do have a set time limit for the entire round. Yet, each passenger has their own little time limit within the game. And if you fail to bring them to their destination on time, they will exit the cab without paying you.
Wow.
However, if you do bring them on time, they will pay you. And the faster you bring them to where they need to go, the more you get paid. As well as additional seconds in the time limit while playing with the arcade rules.
You can also gain more money by performing stunts such as Crazy Drift, allowing you to drift, Crazy Jump whenever your taxi jumps off a ramp or gets some airtime, and Crazy Through, which allows you to slalom through traffic without causing damage to any cars. Plus, when playing arcade rules, more time may be added when you pick up a passenger with a longer destination distance.
When you completely run out of time, you finish the game, and you're then ranked based on all of the money you've earned from the amount of customers that you took. The rankings range from E-License, where you've only earned a cent, to nearly $1,000, all the way to Crazy License with at least 20 grand earned.
Wow.
And getting at least an S rank plays the credits, along with pre-recorded footage of the character you chose blazing through the city.
With that said, I think the gameplay in the console port works really well. It feels like the arcade game, plays like the arcade game, and overall lets you experience the arcade game in your own home. I love driving through the open world and even driving through shortcuts, which alone makes it awesome. However, there are times when the taxi won't immediately start if you're stuck by a pole or something. It happens on a few occasions, but it doesn't affect the gameplay as a whole. The controls work really well for the GameCube version.
Yeah.
Use the control stick to drive, A to accelerate or decelerate, and B to brake. You can also use the L and R triggers to set the gear shift from drive to reverse.
Well, that's weird. Again. When I'm playing this game with my Xbox 360 controller, the buttons for acceleration/deceleration and the brakes are mapped to the triggers, while drive and reverse are mapped to the A and B buttons. Either way, it doesn't matter because I love the gameplay in Crazy Taxi. It's an extremely fun and unique racing game, as you're not actually racing against anyone, but the time limit. Driving feels really good along with the physics of the game. They just feel really natural in the context of the game's overall chaotic premise. Although the control schemes for all console ports of this game are different from typical racing games, I think it works in Crazy Taxi's favor. as you could quickly press a button or a trigger to change to driving or reversing instantly, helping you stay on the right track in order to bring customers from one destination to the other as fast as possible. Now, admittedly, I did run into a few glitches, but they're not a huge problem at all. Things could get really chaotic when playing through this game, which only adds to the fun. I love how open the two available cities are, because there's a lot of space to experiment by taking advantage of the game's physics to make huge shortcuts, and pulling off dangerous stunts when performing crazy dash, crazy drift, crazy jump, swiftly avoiding cars, and flying off of huge ramps. I also love how the cities were designed, as the stores, buildings, railroads, bridges, tunnels, and more help make the maps feel like legitimate locations.
While the game plays the same way, there are some differences between arcade mode and original mode. Arcade mode is the regular mode as seen in the arcade game, and I think the console version replicates it very well. Then there's the original mode, which is only exclusive to the console ports. Even though it feels more like a condensed version of the arcade map, I actually like the look of it. I'm also more familiar with the original mode than the arcade mode, but that's just me.
Yeah, original mode features a differently designed map from arcade mode, which is a good way to add more variety. Since the gamer already talked about the time limit in the arcade rules, I'll let you guys know about the other time rules in the game. Because Crazy Taxi was an arcade game, the amount of time was pretty limited in order for players to pop in more quarters. However, thanks to the console port, you are able to add in a set time limit consisting of 3, 5, or even 10 minutes, which is great for getting in more playtime if you find the game to be too difficult with the arcade rules.
Finally, there's Crazy Box. It's a series of mini challenges that also acts as a tutorial for the following stunts: Crazy Dash, Crazy Drift, and Crazy Stop. There's 9 main challenges plus 3 bonus challenges if you manage to complete a certain amount of them. Also, if you press the start button, the game will show you how to perform that stunt. They range from jumping off a ramp, popping balloons, and even knocking out bowling pins. So I must ask, Silver, what do you think of the Crazy Box missions?
I really like the addition of Crazy Box. It's a nice piece of extra content. The challenges have fun objectives to them that are also helping you practice using the game's mechanics. My favorites include the balloon popping challenge, the bowling ball challenge, and definitely that one challenge where you have to quickly crazy jump off of large ramps and avoid falling in the water. It can get a little intense. Now, if you ask me, I feel like this console port should have had a little more extra content, like a multiplayer mode or something. But that's just me. So, Gamer, what did you think of Crazy Taxi as a whole?
Well, seeing I played the console version of Crazy Taxi, it actually does fare with its arcade counterpart.
Everything you remember from the arcade is there, as well as some additional features only exclusive for the console ports. The graphics look pretty good, even with some of the rigid animations. Not to mention the game clearly shows it's an early 2000s game, based on the customers alone. Look at that guy with the mohawk. Gameplay-wise, it's amazing. I love exploring the open worlds from both the arcade and original modes, and the idea of carrying passengers from one place to another is a fantastic concept. Also, the game's soundtrack is amazing. It features songs performed by The Offspring and Bad Religion. Some of my favorite songs in the game include All I Want, Tenet 2010, and Inner Logic, as heard in the credits. The majority of songs are played throughout the game, but the soundtrack was changed when the game was reissued due to copyright. The game would later become the inspiration of other racing games such as Smashing Drive and the Need for Speed series. In fact, I first heard of Crazy Taxi when I played the Simpsons version called The Simpsons Road Rage, which had a similar gameplay style to Crazy Taxi. Believe it or not, Sega actually filed a lawsuit against Fox saying that Road Rage was a patent infringement to Crazy Taxi. Yeah, Crazy Taxi is an awesome racing game, and I would definitely recommend it to any Sega fan or anyone who's willing to play a racing game. Try when you get a chance.
Crazy Taxi, despite having a few minor issues and definitely showing its age in certain aspects, is just overall an awesome arcade racer. It's that classic Sega edge that I know and love. I frequently see myself playing this game, whether it would be a non-stop session for hours trying to get a higher score than the last, or just playing a quick round before I go off to bed.
So for those who've never played the arcade version of Crazy Taxi, or at least you have played it but want to play it at home, then I think the console version does help out with that. And thanks, Silver, for helping out with the review.
No problem, and thank you for letting me tag along. And let me know when you talk about any other Sega games.
I'll see what I can do.
Mm.
I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
The end.
Dudes, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified for upcoming videos.
Also, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And now, here's one of my buddies to finish out the video.
That makes sense. It's a shout to me. Makes sense. Oh, special thanks to Scott Boyd, SMF Studios for voice and dialogue off. Makes sense. Continue on. So that was Fairly Odd Gamer, Crazy Taxi with Silver Kids, a special guest. What do I think about this episode? I think it was amazing. Despite making this episode of LJPCBM more a success. And, yeah. And just to let you know, folks, yeah, covered by Johnny at due to copyright reasons. But yeah, that's just me, of course. But, yeah. And that was LJPCBM episode number 883. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be LJPCBM episode number 884. Barnes Jungle Challenge, Season 2, Episode 2. Till next time, through Joseph Poppy, so baby, we got more LJPCBM to pursue. Till out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.